Hey everyone, welcome back to We Are Cosmic, your go-to channel for crypto insights and professional market analysis. If you've ever wondered when the cryptocurrency market is finally going to show signs of a bottom, today's video is exactly what you need. I'm going to break down a chart that is pointing strongly to a major bottom in XRP and the broader crypto market. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll feel much more confident that the worst may already be behind us. And that means we could be on the verge of a big upward move, especially for coins like XRP. Now, before we jump into the charts and technical details, I want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone supporting this channel. Every like, comment, and subscription goes a long way. If you're watching and haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future updates. And if you're looking for a place to buy XRP safely, I've linked my favorite exchange in the description below. It's a trusted platform I personally use and recommend. All right, let's get to the exciting part. Recently, XRP has shown signals that it has reached a bottom, and this isn't just speculation. We can see this clearly on the RSI chart. Historically, every time XRP has dropped to this RSI level, it has been an excellent buying opportunity. And right now, the RSI is indicating that XRP is highly oversold. This is one of those rare moments when fundamentals and price are diverging, meaning the underlying strength of XRP is much higher than its current market price. For smart investors, this is exactly where opportunities are born. Moments like this don't come often, and they can define long-term gains. But it's not just technicals that make XRP exciting. On the institutional and regulatory side, there have been some big developments. Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple's CEO, was recently confirmed to the CFTC Innovation Committee, which is a huge recognition of Ripple's leadership in the crypto space. Just a few years ago, Ripple was in a legal battle with regulators, and now it's being positioned as a leader in both innovation and compliance. This shift shows how far Ripple has come and highlights its credibility in the eyes of traditional finance and the current administration. So, why is this important? Because Ripple isn't just another cryptocurrency. It's building a long-term strategy that separates it from Ethereum, Solana, and other blockchains. While many chains focus on experimental features like NFTs or speculative tokens, Ripple is focused on real-world institutional adoption. They're working on integrating DeFi solutions that replicate traditional financial products like loans, savings, and treasury functions directly on the XRP ledger. This is a huge advantage because it means the largest businesses in the world can start using crypto without compromising security or compliance. And as more of these institutions join the XRP ecosystem, the demand and adoption of XRP are only going to grow. All right, so here's the takeaway from today's intro. XRP is showing strong technical signs of a bottom, institutional interest is growing, and Ripple's strategy is uniquely positioned for long-term success. That combination is rare in crypto and something every investor should pay attention to. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the XRP ledger itself, including why it's so different from other blockchains and why institutional DeFi is going to be a game changer for this network. We'll also look at some charts and real data to show you exactly why I believe the worst of this cycle is behind us. We're diving deep into why the XRP ledger is so strategically positioned to dominate institutional DeFi and why this isn't just hype, it's a real advantage over blockchains like Ethereum and Solana. If you've ever wondered why some projects survive and thrive while others stay experimental, this section is crucial for you to understand. Let's start with the basics. Most people think DeFi is all about flashy things like NFTs, meme coins, or unpredictable smart contracts. That's the version of DeFi that got popular during the last crypto boom, especially with people experimenting and flipping tokens. But here's the truth. Real institutional DeFi isn't about speculation. It's about replicating the financial products that already exist in the traditional system. Banks, investment firms, and large financial institutions don't care about NFT games or high-risk tokens. They need loans, treasury services, checking accounts, savings accounts, and predictable financial instruments. That's where the XRP ledger comes in. David Schwartz, one of the key architects behind the XRP ledger, explained during Ripple Community Day that their focus is building what institutions actually need. This includes features like security upgrades, permission domains for compliance, think KYC and AML, liquidity aggregators, and reliable transaction systems. Everything is designed to meet regulatory standards while supporting large-scale financial activity. That means banks and corporations can actually move over to XRP without worrying about unpredictable or insecure smart contracts. Now, a lot of people think Ethereum and Solana have an advantage because they have smart contracts. But smart contracts are actually more of a developer tool than a production-ready system. They're great for experimenting, testing new ideas, or building small applications. But when it comes to real financial transactions, like loans, lending, or institutional trading, you want ultra-predictable systems, not experimental code that can fail or be exploited. This is exactly why XRP Ledger avoided over-reliance on smart contracts. It was built from day one as a production chain, optimized for stability, security, and institutional adoption. Another important point, most of the crypto market today is still tiny compared to the real financial world. We are probably at less than 1% of assets deployed in DeFi compared to what we'll see in the next 5 to 10 years. That means the real opportunity is just beginning. When traditional financial businesses start moving onto blockchain, they will need a system that works like the XRP Ledger, compliant, secure, and efficient. Ripple is positioning itself to capture that wave, while other chains are still experimenting with features that may never scale to enterprise-level use. So, what does this mean for XRP investors? First, it means that the fundamentals of XRP are strong and growing, even if the price hasn't caught up yet. The network's technical design, regulatory credibility, and institutional focus create a foundation for long-term growth. Second, the XRP Ledger is not competing in the same arena as chains that focus solely on speculative or experimental markets. It's focused on real-world financial adoption, which has a much higher barrier to entry and a much larger potential payoff. To put it simply, Ethereum and Solana are like test labs. They allow developers to try all kinds of things, but nothing is guaranteed to scale or survive long-term. XRP Ledger is built for actual production, institutional use, and regulatory compliance. This is why I believe XRP has a unique advantage. It's designed to handle the real financial system in a blockchain environment, not just the crypto-native playground of speculative projects. Finally, understanding this difference helps explain why we're seeing bottom signals for XRP now. The fundamentals are strong, the roadmap is clear, and adoption is starting to pick up. Technical indicators like the RSI support the idea that XRP is oversold, but the institutional momentum tells us that the network is ready for significant growth. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into real-world examples, upcoming Ripple initiatives, and why XRP's market timing may be perfect for investors looking to take advantage of this institutional wave. We're going to focus on the current XRP market trends and why technical indicators are showing signs that the bottom may already be in. If you've been feeling frustrated watching sideways or downward price action, this section will give you a clear picture of why there's a lot to be optimistic about right now. Let's start with the big picture. Over the past few years, XRP has experienced its share of ups and downs, from regulatory battles with the SEC to wider market volatility. But one thing has remained consistent. Every time XRP hits certain oversold levels, historically it has been a prime buying opportunity. Right now, if we look at the Relative Strength Index, RSI, XRP is approaching levels that in the past have consistently marked market bottoms. This is not guesswork. This is based on years of historical data. Every time XRP reached similar RSI levels, investors who bought during those periods saw significant gains over time. So what does this mean practically? The market often moves in cycles. Price and fundamentals can sometimes diverge, creating opportunities for smart investors. At this moment, the fundamentals for XRP, regulatory progress, institutional adoption, and Ripple's roadmap are strong and growing, but the price hasn't fully reflected this yet. Moments like this are exactly where opportunity is created in any market. When the crowd is unsure or beaten down, the foundation is often strongest. That's why careful observation and patience are critical for investors right now. Another important factor is the trajectory of adoption. While retail traders often focus on hype, Ripple is steadily building institutional momentum. Their recent Community Day events highlighted how the XRP Ledger is being tailored for enterprise-level DeFi applications. Features like security enhancements, permission domains, and liquidity aggregators are designed to attract large financial institutions. This means that while the market price may look sideways now, adoption is quietly accelerating behind the scenes and a classic setup for a future breakout. It's also important to understand the psychology of the market. Many traders get discouraged during periods of sideways or slightly downward price action. This is natural. It can feel like nothing is happening. But in reality, these are the moments that prepare the market for growth. XRP is a great example of this. The current RSI and oversold conditions show that buyers have a historical advantage at these levels. Even if there's one more minor dip, the overall trend and fundamentals point toward recovery and potential upside. Now, let's talk about timing. Based on historical cycles, XRP's current price level is highly attractive for long-term investors. Buying during oversold periods like this, especially when combined with strong institutional and regulatory developments, has historically been very profitable. That's why many seasoned investors view the current moment as a generational opportunity. The key is understanding that technical indicators like RSI are tools to help identify risk-reward zones, not just a signal to blindly buy. Combine this with Ripple's real-world progress, and it makes a strong case for accumulation. Finally, we should acknowledge the broader market context. XRP doesn't exist in isolation. The entire crypto market reacts to macro trends, liquidity, and investor sentiment. Right now, we're seeing a divergence. Fundamentals are improving faster than price. This is exactly the kind of setup that historically leads to strong upward moves once the market catches up. In other words, the groundwork is being laid today for potential explosive growth in the near future. We'll dive into Ripple's roadmap, specific DeFi initiatives, and how these developments can directly impact XRP's value. We'll also explore some real examples of how institutional adoption is beginning to take shape, which makes this a very exciting moment for both long-term investors and those looking for strategic entry points. In this section, we're going to focus on the practical steps Ripple is taking to position XRP for long-term growth. We've already talked about market signals and fundamentals, but now let's get into the real-world initiatives that make XRP different from almost every other cryptocurrency out there. Understanding this is key to seeing why XRP is set up for institutional adoption and potentially huge upside. One of the most exciting things Ripple has been doing is building institutional-ready DeFi on the XRP ledger. Unlike Ethereum or Solana, which focus heavily on experimental smart contracts, Ripple is focused on replicating the core financial products of today's traditional system. That includes things like loans, treasury services, savings accounts, and money market functions, the very tools that banks and corporations use every day. By bringing these essential services onto the blockchain in a secure, predictable way, Ripple is creating a foundation for large financial institutions to move into crypto safely. David Schwartz, one of the key figures behind XRP Ledger, highlighted during Ripple Community Day how the network is being built specifically for this purpose. They are implementing security upgrades, permission domains, KYC and AML compliance features, and liquidity aggregation tools. These may sound technical, but the takeaway is simple. Ripple is making it possible for institutions to operate in crypto without taking on the risks of unregulated or unstable platforms. That's something very few blockchains are doing today, and it gives XRP a huge strategic edge. Another key advantage is how Ripple approaches smart contracts. Many people assume that Ethereum or Solana have a major advantage because they can run complex smart contracts. But in reality, smart contracts are better suited for experimentation, not production-level financial transactions. For institutional adoption, you need predictable, secure, and auditable systems where outcomes are clear and risks are minimized. XRP Ledger was designed with this in mind, focusing on built-in functionality rather than experimental features, which makes it highly reliable for large-scale financial operations. What this means for the market is clear. While Ethereum and Solana are often seen as playgrounds for developers and traders, XRP is being designed for real-world use, which attracts serious money and long-term participants. As institutions start using XRP for financial transactions, it could lead to increased demand, higher liquidity, and broader adoption, all factors that typically support upward price movement. Ripple isn't stopping there. They're also focusing on permission DeFi protocols, which allow traditional businesses to participate without exposure to the chaos of highly speculative crypto markets. This approach is important because it creates a bridge between traditional finance and blockchain, something that many other projects have struggled to achieve. By combining compliance, security, and functionality, Ripple is positioning the XRP ledger as the go-to blockchain for institutional DeFi adoption, which could take years for other chains to replicate. Finally, all of these initiatives contribute to one big picture. XRP is not just a cryptocurrency for traders, it's a tool for institutional financial transformation. When you combine strong fundamentals, regulatory recognition, real adoption, and technical reliability, you get a coin that is uniquely poised for long-term growth. And with the recent bottom signals in the market, it's possible we are seeing a historic entry point for investors who recognize these structural advantages. Welcome back to We Are Cosmic, everyone. Now that we've explored Ripple's roadmap and the strategic advantages of the XRP ledger, it's time to get into the technical side of things. For investors, understanding price trends, market signals, and indicators like the RSI can help you make smarter decisions, especially when the fundamentals are diverging from price. Let's start with the Relative Strength Index, RSI. RSI is a tool that measures how overbought or oversold a cryptocurrency is. Historically, every time XRP has reached its current RSI levels, it has marked a strong buying opportunity. In simple terms, the coin has been oversold, meaning the price is lower than the market fundamentals suggest it should be. Looking back at previous cycles, buying XRP at these levels almost always resulted in profitable trades over time. This makes today's market conditions very interesting for both long-term holders and strategic buyers. One thing to understand is that markets rarely move in a straight line. Sometimes there's a small dip, a final flash crash, before a real bottom is reached. Even if XRP experiences one more minor dip, historical data shows that these oversold levels don't last long. The market tends to recover quickly once institutional interest and adoption pick up, which is exactly what we are seeing with Ripple's roadmap and enterprise initiatives. Another key point is the concept of fundamentals diverging from price. Right now, Ripple is making serious progress on institutional DeFi, regulatory compliance, and network development. Yet, the price hasn't fully reflected these improvements. This divergence creates a window of opportunity for investors who can recognize the underlying strength of XRP. Basically, the network is getting stronger while the price stays relatively low, a situation that often precedes a significant upward move. Now, let's talk about practical buying strategies. One approach is dollar cost averaging, DCA. Since XRP is currently oversold, DCA allows you to buy gradually over time instead of trying to catch the exact bottom. This strategy reduces risk while still letting you accumulate a position in what may turn out to be a historic entry point. Many successful investors use this approach during oversold market conditions because it smooths out volatility and ensures you don't miss the opportunity. It's also important to watch for confirmation signals from price charts. Look for things like upward movement in RSI, bullish candlestick patterns, or support levels holding steady. These signals, combined with the strong fundamentals we discussed in previous parts, suggest that XRP may be poised for a rebound. The market often reacts faster than people expect when these signals align with institutional adoption and clear long-term roadmaps. Finally, let's not forget the big picture. XRP isn't just any cryptocurrency, it's a coin with a strong network, regulatory credibility, and institutional focus. The technical indicators show that it's oversold and historically favorable for buying. The fundamentals, including DeFi adoption, enterprise partnerships, and XRP Ledger's unique design, are improving. Combining these factors creates a scenario where both timing and structural advantages align. For investors who understand this, it represents a high probability opportunity. Now that we've covered Ripple's roadmap, institutional DeFi strategy, and technical signals like RSI, it's time to wrap everything together and give you a clear perspective on what this all means for investors. First, let's summarize the key points. XRP is showing strong signs of a market bottom based on historical RSI levels. This is important because, historically, these oversold levels have consistently provided profitable buying opportunities. Even if the market experiences minor dips, the fundamentals suggest that the worst may be behind us. At the same time, Ripple is building a production-ready, institutional-grade DeFi ecosystem on the XRP ledger. This is not experimental or speculative. It's designed for real-world financial adoption, making XRP uniquely positioned among cryptocurrencies. Ripple's strategy focuses on bringing traditional financial services onto the blockchain, including loans, treasury management, savings, and money markets. By addressing compliance, security, and liquidity needs, Ripple is creating an environment where banks, corporations, and institutional players can safely operate in crypto. This is a huge advantage over chains like Ethereum or Solana, which are more experimental and developer-focused. For investors, this means XRP has strong long-term potential backed by real adoption and utility. Now let's talk about how to approach investing in XRP right now. First, remember that technical and fundamental factors align to create opportunity. The RSI shows oversold conditions, while Ripple's roadmap and institutional adoption indicate growing strength. This combination is rare, and historically, It has been the kind of setup that rewards patient and strategic investors. One practical strategy is dollar cost averaging, DCA. Because markets are unpredictable, buying gradually allows you to accumulate XRP without needing to perfectly time the bottom. This reduces risk while ensuring you benefit from the long-term potential as adoption and network usage increase. Another approach is monitoring confirmation signals, such as upward movement in RSI, price support levels holding, or bullish candlestick formations. These can indicate that the market is ready to rebound and strengthen your confidence when buying. It's also important to keep a long-term perspective. XRP is not a short-term gamble. It's a coin positioned for structural growth. Its value proposition comes from institutional adoption, regulatory recognition, and a production-focused blockchain. Investors who focus on these fundamentals, combined with technical insights, are better positioned to make informed decisions and avoid emotional trading mistakes. Lastly, don't forget the big picture. We are in the early stages of institutional DeFi adoption. Most of the market today is still speculative, but Ripple is building the tools and infrastructure to attract serious players. This is exactly the kind of environment where early, informed investors can take advantage of opportunities that may define the next cycle of growth in crypto. To conclude, here's the takeaway in simple terms. XRP is historically oversold, presenting a strong potential buying opportunity. Ripple's institutional DeFi roadmap and XRP ledger design make it uniquely positioned for long-term adoption. Dollar cost averaging and monitoring technical signals are practical ways to navigate market uncertainty. The combination of technical indicators and strong fundamentals suggests that the worst of the market may be behind us and growth opportunities are emerging. That's it for today's XRP analysis. Remember, investing in crypto always involves risk, but understanding both the technical signals and fundamental roadmap helps you make informed decisions. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to We Are Cosmic, and hit the bell so you don't miss future insights. Stay smart, stay patient, and I'll see you in the next video where we continue exploring crypto markets and opportunities together.